Welcome to the Chic Show. Chic, cheap, repeat. Today is part of the 5 under $5 challenge hosted by Missy from Crafty Cove DIY, Emily from Farm Charm Chic, and co-hosted today by Anna Lee from Anna Lee Ashby DIY. I'll have the playlists and all their channels linked in the description box below. So all the DIYs today are Dollar Tree projects. So I'm using these 3 items from Dollar Tree, the brass rings, this welcome sign, and some Dollar Tree twine. I secured the smaller ring inside the larger ring by tying it at the top, bottom, and both sides. This is the only way I could figure out how to keep it still. It did take some time to figure out how to do this so that I could video it for you. So here I'm doing it in real time so that you can see exactly how I'm looping the twine around. So I'm going around the bottom and looping it, coming to the top, looping it, then I'm going to tie it off. And now we start that process again, around the top and wrap it around, come around to the bottom and wrap it around, and back to the top until you run out of twine. I'm using about 3 feet pieces of twine for each time. And I'm doing that twice before I wrap it in the middle. When you start to run out of twine, you're going to tie it off with the tail of the last knot. I am pushing all those loops together because we do have one more time around before we can tie it across the middle. So here is part 2. We're wrapping it around the top and bottom, all the way around. Tie it off, and we're going to do that 6 or 7 more times until our twine runs out. And then we're going to tie it off again. And then using a piece maybe about 6 inches long, you're going to wrap it as shown here around those 2 sections to make them into one section. Notice that I am tying everything off at the back. I'm going to flip it over, and this is the section we just did. I'm using my lighter to burn away some of those wild hairs in there. I do have a water spray bottle nearby, and I just worked in sections and it worked out just fine. Before hanging it, I decided to use some hot glue on all of those little knots that I made just to make sure that they stayed tied. And I love the way this turned out. If you like it too, please give me a thumbs up. Project number 2 is inspired by something I saw on Pinterest, which was a spool tiered tray. I could not find any spools like this, so I decided to make my own. I'm using these 2 signs from Dollar Tree and this can that I thrifted for 40 cents. I removed the twine hangers because we won't be needing those. And then I'm also going to be using some of Dollar Tree's sticker paper in this wood pattern. I placed each of the wood circles on a piece of this sticker paper and then just cut around it. I decided at this point I should have painted the edge of the rounds, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to repeat that whole process on the second wood round, only this one is going to get sticker paper on the top and the bottom. Now with some of the leftover sticky paper, I wrapped the container. I did think ahead this time, and I went ahead and painted the top and the bottom of the container with that white paint. I'm also using some of these Dollar Tree dominoes that I had on hand to glue to the top and the bottom, just so that when I go to glue it to the wood rounds, it has more to adhere to, especially since it won't sit flush without it. And once we get this glued together, it's ready to go. I did not paint the bottom of the wood round on the bottom simply because it won't show. You could, and you could add feet to this as well. And here's the way it looks when it's complete. Project number 3 is a bamboo ring wreath. So I'm going to be using both of these wreaths, one placed inside the other, and I'm going to end up using some scrapbook paper, but you could use cork from Dollar Tree, you could use wrapping paper from Dollar Tree, this burlap bag from Dollar Tree, any number of things. I just had scrapbook paper on hand, so that's what I'm going to use. Of course, I chose the black and white. Since this is scrapbook paper and not cardstock, I did go ahead and glue it to a piece of cardstock just to make it a little more sturdy. I then traced along the outside of the larger wood ring. After I cut it out, I placed the smaller wood ring inside and traced on the inside of the smaller ring. I cut the center part out and then I measured it with the wood rings in place and trimmed where needed. Next, I hot glued the rings to the paper. And once again, I trimmed where needed. I embellished this little wreath with some greenery I had on hand and some Dollar Tree foam roses. Now I'm going to add a hanger to the back, and this project is complete. Project number 4 is a wall hanging for my craft room. I'm using one of these Easter signs from Dollar Tree. I think this was probably from last year. I'm going to be giving it 2 coats of Waverly chalk paint and plaster. After the second coat, I did go back and touch up places that I needed to. I'm not sure what this material is made of. It feels kind of plasticky, but it also feels kind of like fabric, so I didn't know how my hot air gun would do on it, but it did fine in helping to dry that paint. I did choose to use vinyl, not iron-on vinyl for this, so I cut out the letters with my Silhouette Cameo. You could use stickers for this, or you could trace the letters on with a Sharpie. I decided to use the existing ribbon at the top and thread on some of these colorful beads from Dollar Tree. This is the perfect little hanger for this. I also decided to go back and add that little tassel that was originally on the piece. Another great addition to my craft room door. Project number 5 is a stand for your sunglasses. This is a piece from Dollar Tree and 2 Lincoln logs that I thrifted. I'm simply going to paint the Lincoln logs in Waverly chalk paint in ink and then glue them on as shown here. How was that for a simple project? Thanks again to all the creators in this playlist as well as our hosts. Be sure and check them all out in the description box below. Thanks so much for watching. Share the chic. Bye now.